afternoon, everybody. I invite you onto my new segment here, Cooking with Press. And today's special meal is going to be probably some tenderloin, my little gravy sauce. But this is what we're going to be cooking today, some tenderloin. So I have my knife prepared. What I like to do is I like to open it up first, and I like to get started with it. So I know, it's all going to be in this meat here. So the first step, of course, we want to take it out the package. Very, very simple. You can rinse it if you like. You don't necessarily have to. And you see this, you want to cut about an inch slice off, because you want it to be able to fry. So anything to this nature you want to use to fry it in your pan. So this is what we're going to be using today. Alright, so after you get all your meat out and then you begin to cut on it, like I said, you want to make sure you cut this excessive fat off. I don't like to have any fat on the pork meat. So I like to take it, and once I have it all skinned off, you should have your meat. It should look like this here, depending on how you want to cut it. And like I said, then that's when you want to take time out to start slicing it according to how thick you would like your meat to be. So now that I have all that trimmed, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut my slices here. Slice by slice. Very simple. You're going to cut your slices. Now once again, like I said, this all depends on how thick you want your meat to be. I like my meat to be a little thick, so that way when the sauce I put on it, it soaks real good in it and turns out to be actually nice. But I want to share that with y'all. Okay, so once you have your meat cut and once you have it sliced, like I told you, mine is small, the kind of thick cut. Like I said, it all depends on you. You have your slices. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to begin to season the meat. And because it's pork, I don't want to lose too much seasoning on it, because I don't want, the meat to be too salty. So join me as I prepare to season this nice, thick cut pork tenderloin. See, like I said, depends. It can be thin sliced. You can have it a little thick slice. All depends on you as the chef. So next, as I'm preparing my meat and I'm getting it actually laid out in my pan on how I want to season it, I already took out some of the seasonings that I'm going to use. Just some basic seasonings like seasoning salt, some black pepper, some accent, garlic powder, and some Montreal chicken seasoning. Even though it is pork, I use a little bit of the chicken seasoning because I have some of the extra, seasonings in it as well. So just take a look here at these seasonings. You can get them from Publix, Winn-Dixie, Piggly Wiggly's, Harvey's, wherever you are in your location. They're very, very cheap and very inexpensive. So first, I always like to start off with my seasoning salt. Like I told you all, this is Lawry's seasoning salt. You can use regular salt, you can use a seasoned salt, whatever you want to use. I just prefer to use this particular brand. And I just like to sprinkle just enough so that I know each piece of meat is covered with the seasoning salt. Lord Creole also has salt in it as well, but it gives a different blend, a different texture. Like I say, I like to put it to make sure that each piece of meat is covered. And some of these are different brands of seasonings. And then in the end, it's all gonna have that perfect taste. And this pepper helps, and it also gives it the offset of being too salty. So as you see, I have my meat seasoned, and I usually let it sit here for about 3 to 5 minutes, and it's gonna marinate, and then I'll prepare to put it on the stove. So as I'm letting this soak, I have my pan starting to warm up a little bit. So I have my 3 items that I'm only gonna have to use for this whole meal. I have a spatula, I have my frying pan, and then I have my Crisco butter. I have the no stick spray. and I'm going to use it. I spray the pan, and no, I can use a little bit of olive oil, but the meat is going to produce its own oil from the Crisco spray. So just make sure you take this, and you want to just fill the whole pan up. Okay, so now that my pot is hot and ready, I'm just going to take my meat and I'm going to lay it in there. I have it cooking on about 6 and a half. And I'm going to use the side that I don't have seasoned because I only season one side. And I leave that side down bottom, and I cook so the seasoning from the top can marinate through the top of the meat. So once I have the pan filled here, I'm going to take this same spray once again, and I'm just going to spray the top of this meat because when I flip it over, we don't want it to stick or burn. Even though we already sprayed the pan, you always have to be on the safe side. And I have my fan on because you don't want the house to be too smoky. So after I let this sit here and I cooked it on about 6 on the stove here, probably about 1.5 minutes, almost 2 minutes, I'll then take and I'm going to flip it over. And because I like for my meat to be a little thick, what I have to do sometimes, I have to take and I have to chop this up. And when I say chop it up, meaning I'm going to beat this because I need to make sure that this is cooked very thoroughly. Because I like for my meat to be well done. So this is slow cooking it and just waiting to see what the end result's going to be. It's very important that while you're cooking, you want to make sure you have your cold one. Now your cold one can be a whatever you want it to be, but I just prefer to have a nice cold Sprite. Old modern day. So all I'm doing now, I'm just chopping this because like I told you, I cut my meat kind of thick and I want to make sure that there's no blood, there's nothing that's left. So I want to ensure that when I get ready to flip this over, it's going to cook on both sides. Alright, so I took the first set of meat out and I have that sitting to the side in the pan. This is how your meat want to look. I let it cook about 7 minutes. And now I have this next set in here. I'm going to let this cook, same thing, about 1.5 on each side. And then that's when I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. And I'm going to let it get full steam all the way through. So now that I have all the meat is done, I'm going to take 2 spoons of some butter. I'm going to put it in there. It doesn't have to be 2 full spoons. And that's there. So that can melt in there. And what I'm going to do, some very regular, some ragu sauce, classic Alfredo sauce. Just going to take it, and we're going to pour it, and we're going to add it in here to make our sauce. And the next step is pretty much really just to let this slow cook in here. So it'll get real nice and tender. And that's what it's going to be. You want to make sure you get sauce on all your pieces of meat. And it's here, and it's going to slow cook. And you can let it slow cook with the butter here for probably, I'd say from 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes it's going to cook, and it's going to simmer in this butter and the sauce. And after this, you are prepared to feed your dish. And I'm going to show you a nice little side that you can prepare with this and the end result. So stay tuned, okay? So this is completely done. You have a full meal. This is my pork tenderloin and my famous sauce. And just for a little bit of decoration, just going to sprinkle this over the top. And guess what, folks? Here you have a nice dish that you can serve. Pork tenderloin. That's it. So this here is the finished product. Right here we have a little roll on your pork tenderloin, and you have some creamy pasta here ready to serve. This is you can do pasta You can add broccoli on the side as well. You want to throw your little vegetable on there. You can do rice as well. Whatever side that you want, whatever starch, include it with a veggie, and you get your full menu.